What makes Miyazaki stories so unique? Why are they so human, so deep, so special? How do they conjure those beautiful emotions inside of me? One of the biggest reasons why I started this channel was to explore those questions. I needed an excuse to ponder on this artist's work often and thoroughly. Recently, I rewatched Princess Mononoke with those questions in mind. And while in previous runs my attention always flocked to the most spiritual, fantastical moments of the movie, this time I was enraptured by one of its less talked about scenes. You might imagine that an old tribe leader predicting the fate of a cursed young man is rather cliche, but here I found an interesting element. One of those Ghibli little gems. This story, like so many others, is a journey, both physical and psychological. But what is this hero seeking? Is it purpose, maturity, redemption? None of those. And listen, I'm one of those writers who believe that execution is way more important than premise. But that doesn't mean that premise is not worthy. Today we're gonna have a look at Princess Mononoke's premise and do our best to learn from the mind and heart of Hayao Miyazaki. Do you want to create wondrous worlds that will spark the imagination of people all over the world? Good, me too. And this is the whole point of this channel here, the Worldbuilding Tower. Together we create world after world after world. We practice this world building skill by first having a look at great stories, great narratives, and extracting lessons from them. And from those lessons, we create stories, we create worlds, and we get better and better at doing just so. If you like this whole idea, this whole premise, this whole journey of a channel, please subscribe and join us. Let's climb the tower. Every hero, every protagonist needs a quest. That's how people become heroes. They plunge into adventure, willing or not. Sometimes it's a calling, sometimes it's a push. But there's always something that kickstarts that adventure. Perhaps you finally found out that your whole family has been lying to you since you were little, and now you want to meet your real mother. Perhaps you bumped into a secret message from a hot space princess who's been looking for your local hermit. Perhaps nobody wanted you at a local job fair, but at the very end of the day, you were hired by death. That's what we're gonna explore here today. The premise, the setup, the catapult moment that will shoot the hero into adventure. But why? What really matters is the journey itself, right? So often the premise for a quest is rather weak, while the quest itself is impressive. Yes, that's true, but watching Princess Mononoke, I realized how this element, the premise, gave the whole story a huge chunk of its Miyazaki-esque vibes. The protagonist was given the tools to explore the world in a beautiful way, despite his dire circumstances. Okay, so let me first talk about the introduction of the movie, the first few minutes. Then let's talk about the moment that will guide how Prince Ashitaka will interpret the mission he's about to undertake. The lens he has when he sets out. This story starts in an idyllic village where everybody is polite and attractive. But it doesn't take 3 minutes for something to go wrong. It's coming from the forest. It's not human. A demon comes and it attacks with unprovoked wrath and gorgeous animation. The old man warns, Ashitaka, that thing is cursed. Don't let it touch you. Prince Ashitaka actually tries to talk reason with the furious demon. Man, we don't deserve you. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't work. The monster touches his arm, but in the end the prince resorts to violence and saves his home. But yeah, good guy was touched, and the wound is evil. Okay, so far everything has been expertly executed, but if we exclude the quality of the animation itself, and one or two of Ashitaka's attitudes, like firing his arrow to wake up his stunned elk instead of attacking the monster at first, this scene is not particularly Miyazaki-esque. It could have belonged to another movie. But then comes the very calm, very unpretentious scene that caught my attention. It's a stern meeting. The wise woman, clearly the village leader, is using a stone divination technique to read Ashitaka's future. Let's study the scene's text. The wise woman brought the smooth pebble next to her face and asked an unspoken question. She threw it sideways on the ladder map sprawled on the floor. It hit other stones, changing the displayed constellation completely. She breathed in the new picture, finding the answer she was looking for as she prepared the next question. Ashitaka knew her serene expression was not a good or a bad sign, just part of the concentration she needed to perform her ritualistic duties. "I'm afraid this is very bad," she finally said. "The stones tell me the boar god came from far to the west. He had some kind of poison inside him, driving him mad. A poisonous hatred that consumed his heart and flesh, and turned him into a demon monster." She took her eyes away from the stones for the first time since the beginning of the rite. "Prince Ashitaka?" "Yes," replied the prince. "Show everyone your right arm." Ashitaka removed the bandages. A circular black gash covered his forearm like a coiled snake. The other elders gasped and, one by one, turned their gazes to the wise woman, who remained impassive. "My prince," she said, "are you prepared to learn what fate the stones have foretold you?" "Yes." Ashitaka presented his ruined arm straight and firm, like a falconer. "I was prepared the very moment that I let my arrow fly." The wise woman nodded approvingly. Still bearing her slight smile and calm tone, she said, "The infection will spread, cause you great pain, and kill you." The room erupted in protest. "The prince got that wound by defending our village and saving our lives," said one man. "Do we just sit here and watch him die?" said another. Only two people remained collected, the old woman and the young man. "You cannot alter your fate, my prince," she said as she removed the stones from the map. The matter had been settled. There were no more questions to be asked. "However, you can rise to meet it, if you choose. Look at this." From her sleeve, she produced a lump of metal and dropped it unceremoniously on the floor between them. "This iron ball was found in the boar's body," she said. "It shattered his bones and burned its way deep inside him. This is what turned him into a demon." Ashitaka tried to talk, but no words came. All of his strength was focused on not crying in front of the council. "There is evil at work in the land to the west, Prince Ashitaka," she continued. "It's your fate to go there and see what you can see with eyes unclouded by hate. You may find a way to lift the curse. You understand?" There's a lot to be said about this scene, the demeanor of the elder, the divination being completely accepted by everyone, Ashitaka's noble reaction, the respect for tradition and age. But I want to talk about one thing and one thing only, the sentence that turns this scene and this whole movie around in a very Ghibli way. If you noticed when it happened, great. If you haven't, I'll isolate it for you. Here it is. It is your fate to go there and see what you can see with eyes unclouded by hate, said the wise woman to the cursed prince. Yes, he might find a cure, but he's not questing after that cure. He's not climbing a mountain to find a rare healing flower. He's not slaying the king of demons just so that his demon wound will disappear. He's going on a quest to observe without hate. And he's doing that after having suffered injustice, after having been put in this horrible situation without having done anything wrong himself. Prince Ashitaka takes us on a journey where he's trying to see everyone, to see everything, to see all sides. He interacts with every group he finds. He constantly puts himself at risk to help strangers. He finds the lady who could be directly blamed for his own demise, and even when his demonic arm tries to hurt her, Ashitaka stops it. This is a journey about seeing with eyes free of hate. This is a movie that's trying to tell us to look at the world, yes, with criticism, but unclouded by hate. Could you ask for a more Miyazaki adventure than this? Doesn't it feel right? Doesn't it feel like a piece of art that can make humans more human? There's something there. This story is full of injustice, but it's not about destroying injustice head on, about slaying the monster and there you go, there's no more injustice. No. This is a story about understanding where injustice stems from and mobilizing the world to see as clearly as you do. It's easy to see that if Ashitaka had chosen one of the factions and just stuck with them and just defended them, everybody would lose. The forest spirits, Iron Town, the wolves, everyone. He was able to help because, with eyes unclouded by hate, he found a way to be the bridge between those different groups. What an incredible premise, and one that sets the whole movie into this direction of profoundness. Can we draw inspiration from it and create our own deep premises? I'm pretty sure that seeing with eyes unclouded by hate is not the only premise that can set a story in a very Miyazaki-esque direction. So we're gonna practice this today. We're gonna try to find other premise options that will add to the deepness and this humane aspect of our stories. Evidently, we need both a quest and a premise. They are deeply connected. The quest is what our hero will do. What are the verbs? They're gonna travel, they're gonna learn, they're gonna witness. Maybe there's even a little bit of violence there. Maybe the hero will destroy or avenge, though this will make this exercise much harder. But the interesting thing here is how our premise is going to inform in what way this objective is going to be pursued. How the whole quest is going to be experienced based on what starts it. Imagine if Prince Ashitaka had been sent to just find a cure. Let's try to find something akin to what Miyazaki did, something that will boost this more profound aspect of our stories. And if you don't find anything immediately, just spend a couple of days with this question. Just let it simmer inside of you, and eventually it's gonna come. It's gonna come. And of course, let's write our introduction. Just like the stone divination scene in the village, let's write this little moment that will set the whole story up in this very interesting way. And with that, we go to the last part of the video, which is my take on this exercise, just one out of infinite possibilities, and I hope to see your exercise in the comments below. So without further ado, let's give it a look. I must admit, today I am deeply inspired by this non-fantasy book I've been reading called Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell, which is a story about a band, which also brought me a lot of memories from Terry Pratchett's soul music. So today I feel like I have no choice but just to surrender to this musician energy. Soma held the black lute in a tender embrace, as if the instrument was a sickly newborn who needed his heat. Hushed melodies flowed out of his fingers. It's like velvet, like a caress. As he played, the lute started to emit its mysterious incense smoke. 2 months ago, playing as softly as he could had been a challenge. At this point, it was a pleasure. 2 months ago, the lute's smoke scared Soma, like he was holding a cursed object. Now, it comforted him. It was the aroma of good music. 2 months ago, hiding his composing sessions felt like a chore. But now, it felt like sharing a whispered secret with the mossy ruins around him, giving the place a purpose after all those abandoned years. A shuffle woke him from his playing. He stood up at once. From the other side of a torn-down pillar came the face that Soma wanted to see the least. "Father," he said. His father's gaze locked onto the lute. Soma held the instrument tighter. For a couple of seconds, neither spoke. Incense smoke filled the air, mixing its aroma with the soapstone and lichen all around them. Then, to Soma's befuddlement, his father chuckled. "I should have known. Your compositions have been sounding so unlike anything I'd seen before, so staccato. I should have guessed you composed them on this." He paused. "This thing." "It's good music, father," he said. "Yes, I'll grant you that," said the father, closing his eyes. His eyebrows twitched as he made up his mind. "Listen, I know you're planning to leave with the circus troupe." "No! How?" started Soma, but his father interrupted him. "Nobody ratted you, boy. You're my son. I can see it in your eyes. Besides, the housemaster found your packed belongings." As he spoke, Soma looked around, searching for an escape route. Perhaps it had to happen like this. Just the clothes on his body and the black lute. Perhaps this would have to do. "I want you," continued his father, "to go ahead with this plan, with my blessing." "What?" asked Soma, his eyes opening wide. His father smiled again, the rarest of sights. "Seriously, boy, running away with the circus. Sounds like a fairy tale, sounds like..." He chuckled again. "A song." "How can you allow this?" asked Soma. The smiles, the understanding, the permission, it all felt like he was standing in front of a different man, not his father. His father swung a small carrying case from his back. A violin. It should have looked dark red, but under the full moon it was almost white. It was not his father's main instrument, but the man was a virtuoso. He could play the whole orchestra. He positioned the violin neatly between his shoulder and chin, and took a deep breath. Not bothering to keep the birds asleep, he blasted Soma's serenade under an open window at full volume, adding his own embellishments and changes of dynamic. Under his fingers, the sad melody played differently, icier, not like velvet, but like a blizzard, thought the boy. His father wove the new melody Soma had been playing just a minute ago into the serenade, but also made it colder, adding his own beauty to it. Not like a blizzard anymore, more fragile, like a single snowflake. The piece came to a closure. His father held the violin in the proper position for a couple of seconds before relaxing his shoulder and looking at the young man. We're a family of high standards, Soma. Of tradition. You know that. But this tradition only started because somebody as stupid as you dared to do something different. And it worked. With reverence, he put the violin back into its case and clicked it closed. Do me a favor, son. Do the thing which I didn't have the guts to do. Travel the world as far as you can. Collect all the different melodies you can. Learn them. Learn from them. From the people who play them. Then, before I'm too old to appreciate it, come back here and play them for me. This is where I got. Magical, possibly cursed loot? What's not to love? If you really look at it, there's a bunch of cliché elements there. Oh yeah, the son of a strict family decides to run away with the circus. Never heard that one before. And frankly, I'm cool with this, because I'm drawing inspiration from that Miyazaki scene that, if you strip it to its bones, it's also full of clichés. Oh, the cursed boy who was just so noble and got cursed defeating an evil monster. But my hope with this scene I wrote is that what the father says at the very end, the mission that's been given to our musician hero, might add a powerful element to the whole journey, might steer the story in a beautiful way. This is not a quest towards fame and fortune and asserting yourself in the world. This is a journey about collecting beauty. As many different beauties as you can find. Perhaps this will help our main character to be a more open person, a curious musician, somebody who values festivals and parades and dances, somebody who will listen to a flute in the middle of the street and will stop everything because they just need to see, they need to collect. A musician who will seek music in the kindest of ways, never subtracting from anybody, only adding and adding and adding. It also gives our hero a really good excuse for one day coming back home. That's the end of this video, folks. If you want to help this channel grow, just write a little comment here in this video or in your favorite video. It doesn't have to be long, just a single word. It really helps a lot. YouTube understanding that you folks enjoy this. And of course, if you're there, if you're feeling particularly daring, just write your own world building, because it makes my day to read all of your stories, and I love to see world builders interacting with each other in the comments here. It's the best thing ever. And a special thank you to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support, and I am planning on special gifts for you folks soon. I'm having ideas, and I'm already turning those ideas into a plan. So soon, more rewards for the patrons. And I'll see you folks next video. Bye!